How come as creators we don't ever feel good enough? That no matter how productive we are, no matter how many songs we're putting out, or pictures we're posting, or paintings we're creating, that it just doesn't feel good enough. Um, I do believe that because of the culture that we live in, and um, comparison, which is the thief of happiness and joy, that there's a lot of reasons why we could fall into this trap, why no matter how productive we are, it just doesn't feel like enough. Maybe because our lives don't look exactly like someone else's life, or the results that we're looking for that we have in our head, we're not exactly living out. But in doing so, as I mentioned with that quote earlier about comparison being a thief, I think that we're taking for granted all the blessings, achievements, and just things to be really proud of in our lives, completely for granted. So, for example, this year, I've released the most music I've ever released in my life. In March, released a 7-song EP, then a 7-song EP of covers in May, and now I'm gearing up to release another 7-song EP this December. And obviously, I've released some one-off singles here and there throughout the year as well. I've played a number of music festivals and farmers markets and some really cool local gigs throughout New York and New Jersey. And I've had my first song hit over 100K streams. All very exciting things. I've also had a closure with some friends from 14 years ago that I thought I'd never talk to again. And I was able to share the stage with them too, which was something just very cathartic, and just a lot of things this year that have happened that I'm really proud of. When I think about them and when I look back on them and just take it for what it is, maybe within the context of my own story. But when it comes to being an artist, I still have goals that I want to reach in life. I still, especially now that I'm in my 30s, feel like time's running out, feel like, I've been doing this for 15 or so years now, that, why hasn't this happened yet? Or, like it always sucks to start from the beginning again, right? So that's why, like, a lot of people, when like they're in a band for a while or they've been doing something for a while, if they're not really getting the results that they want, or they're not getting the results they dreamed of, they usually wind up quitting or giving up. And when I think about why I do music, I tend to think about the people that I've lost, like my mom, my grandmother, a variety of like breakups or falling out with friends, things that were just completely out of my control, that have inspired me to put my best foot forward and to really try to rise to meet the occasion that I'm in, whether it be like, showing up at a show and putting on the best performance that I can, or putting together a song and trying to construct the best song that I possibly can. It seems that my losses and the lowest points of my life have continued to be a source of fuel and inspiration for me to push past my limits. And for a lot of you too, that might be a similar thing. Obviously, there is a level of stagnation too, because like for me, for example, after hitting a certain amount of losses or a certain amount of low points, it has kind of dulled the high points a little bit. Like I mentioned, 2024 has been an incredible year for me, but it's also been a very difficult year too. I had a falling out with someone that I've known for 12 years, and the fallout was a little rough, and because of, I guess, how I held this person in such high esteem and really just valued and appreciated them, and in their own way were a source of inspiration for me all these years as well, that it really kind of dulled the color in pretty much everything else in my life. So all the high points that I should be ecstatic, like this should be the best year of my life, because of that, it sort of it made it feel less of like achievements and more so like same old, because I've done music festivals before, or like I've had reunions with people, like I haven't had 100K on a song before, but like I have had success with different songs, throughout the years with different bands and stuff. So, it's almost like I think even though loss has always been a great source of inspiration for me, it's also uniquely, within this year at least, a way to take all of my achievements for granted, because I think here's the reason why we don't feel good enough, and why everything we do may never feel good enough, because we're always striving for something bigger and better. And one of my favorite quotes that rocked me recently is, when the desire to become great becomes a need, then we have a serious problem. And essentially what that means is, if my desire to play Bonnaroo or Coachella or to have X amount of followers or X amount of listeners becomes a need, then the journey to get there and everything that I have currently is taken for granted and feels otherwise meaningless, like a stagnant thing, as opposed to a part of the growth. At that point, kind of like climbing a flight of stairs, if the desire to get to the top is such a need, then every step feels like a chore. Every step feels like a waste of time. Like you just want to get there already. I think we already collectively feel this way when we're driving in traffic. Like no one wants to be in traffic. No one wants to be driving on a highway. I've recently been able to flip this perspective and just be able to appreciate my surroundings, especially if I'm driving more so in nature, but like even in those traffic scenarios, I'm able to like appreciate maybe the colors in the sky, or different unique landmarks or whatnot, and not just make it about the destination, because the journey isn't about the destination. We can still have goals as musicians or artists in general, but when we make the entirety all about the end game, then the journey becomes torture. Obviously I'm sharing this from experience, so I'm not necessarily like preaching from like a weird higher up perspective. It's more so, what have I been dealing with lately? And I've been dealing with a little bit of overcompensating, because I've had this loss with this person. Now I'm trying to over succeed with something that already is in a state of growth, in a state of flourishing, but wanting it to take up more of the space to overcompensate for the loss of this other thing. And that's where our losses can definitely become a negative thing instead of a source of motivation. You know, and in addition to that, I just think that it's important for us as artists to just keep creating, whether it's writing, whether it's painting, or whatever it is. You know, just keep expressing ourselves in however we prefer to express ourselves, because behind the goals, behind the curtain, it is something that we truly appreciate and like to do because it makes us feel good. Hang on to that feeling and do it. For example, you know, I also am a hired singer-songwriter on Fiverr, and I've had a few people over the past few weeks hire me to do stuff, and I've been putting it off last minute because it felt more like a chore, just like everything else has felt like a chore in my life lately. But then as soon as I sit with the project to work on it, I fly straight through it because I'm enjoying it. I love the process of singing and writing and all this. Like, I love it. It's not a chore. It's the thought of it that makes it a chore. And also knowing that something needs to be done. Like, there's a destination to get to from point A to point B. And I think that I think it's just becoming very exhausting for me personally to just think about like outcome constantly all the time. And I've addressed this in a previous video already. Achievement culture is killing us and creating a mental illness crisis in this country. And I would say globally, but at least within this country, I know that's true because you have all these people on Instagram, all these people on TikTok, all these people on YouTube. Everyone is vying for attention, vying for outsourced validation. And to be honest, there are a lot of people that just enjoy creating, and I do enjoy creating too. But of course, a lot of us are really just trying to also grow and reach people. And, you know, if we're just creating for creating's sake, it feels like wasted time. It feels like if no one else is paying attention or cares about what we're doing, that, you know, what's the point, right? But then when we do what we love to do, whether it's making content or making music or making any type of art or expressing ourselves in any sort of way, how that makes us feel, that is the point. The growth is just a nice natural side effect of that. Let's not try to worry ourselves over something that is completely out of our control. Let's just keep doing what we like to do. Keep putting it out there for people to enjoy or resonate with. And whether or not things grow naturally is entirely up to the universe. So with that said, I appreciate you tuning in today and listening to what I had to say, and I hope you have a good day.